Hello and welcome. Today I have a wonderful video for you where I discuss whether or not I feel more French than American or more American than French after living in France for 7.5 years. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Patricia Brooks. I am an American living in the south of France since 2018. And on this channel, I talk about my experiences living in France, moving abroad, and how to find that confidence and courage and build a mindset that will help you thrive when you make your move abroad. And today I am talking on the subject of, do I feel more French than American? This was a question that I got in a recent live stream, and I wasn't able to answer it. I was like, that's a good question. Maybe I should do a video on that. So that is what I'm going to unpack today. Now, I'm going to break this down into two parts. Where I feel more American than French, what feels less second nature, and then I'm going to jump into those things where I feel more French than American. All right. And then at the end, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what my thoughts are on it. Stay tuned till the end because I am going to share something that will help you really understand what I mean when I say I feel more this than that or more that than this. All right. So first up, where do I feel more American still after 7.5 years? Well, driving a car. I have come so far in driving a car here in France. In the beginning, I was really nervous and anxious even before I got into my car. It was not a pleasant experience at all, with all the roundabouts and the narrow streets and the windy streets and the people who drive really fast, in my opinion. And so it was a very stressful time. And even though I have gotten to a place where I'm okay with driving in France, it's not a big problem, I really enjoy it less here than in the US. I would prefer to drive on the wide streets of America. And, having had so many more years of experience on the American roads, I just feel more comfortable. So more American when it comes to driving, except that I don't drive as much. That's the one caveat. I don't drive as much. I drive once a week, maybe sometimes twice a week. I find myself walking to the grocery store more often than driving. So in that respect, I'm more French, but overall, driving more American than French. Oh, and I drive an automatic, not a stick. More American than French. All right. And I have my notes here, so I'm going to be looking down. Clothes and fashion. Now, this was a question that was asked as well. Has my fashion sense changed since I moved to France? And the answer is no. I am not a fashionista. I am more practical when it comes to clothing. If it's wintertime, I want clothes that are going to help to keep me warm. And if it's summertime, I want clothes that are going to help me stay as cool as possible. And so French fashion has not really impacted me that much. I will say also that when I first moved here and was looking for clothes, I struggled to find things that were my style, especially here. I think in the South, it might be different from other places in France, but I found clothes that had a lot of bling, and not just sneakers. I know sneakers all over France for women have the rhinestones and the flash and the bling, and that's not my style. But like to have t-shirts or skirts or jeans that had rhinestones on the pockets and the back pockets and the front pockets, that was something that I did not like. Bought it anyway because, well, that's what was available to me and I needed clothes. So, and now that is less of a problem for me. If I see something in the store that has rhinestones on it, I probably might not even notice it anymore. I think I've become accustomed to it. But my fashion sense has not changed. So more American than French in that respect. All right, food and drink. Now, some people ask, oh, well, do you cook French foods? And when I first moved here, I so wanted to cook French cuisine. One of my ex-boyfriends bought me a cookbook, And not because he wanted me to cook for him, but because he knew that I had this interest. And out of this cookbook, which is really thick, it's probably 2.5, 3 inches thick, I have cooked maybe 3 of the recipes in the book. And it's a shame because the recipes were good. When I cooked them, it was delicious. I will sometimes cook these meals for when I have company, but I don't have company all that often. So I typically cook things that I would cook in the United States. And for breakfast, I am not a continental breakfast person. Give me some protein, especially eggs. I don't have meat with all of my breakfast, but sometimes I do. But every day I do have my eggs. And so I am definitely more American when it comes to that. I am more American than French when it comes to complaining a lot. And I'm sure there are a lot of Americans who complain a lot. But French people have gotten this stereotype of being they're always protesting something, and there's even a term for it, râleur. And I was not that way. I was not a complainer before I moved to France. Got to France, and the French cultural differences were fine. They were something I noticed until one day they started to annoy me. And this was 2.5 or 3 years in, when I had the realization that I'm going to have to put up with this stuff for the rest of my life if I choose to stay here long term. And that, along with, I had some health issues that year, I was a little more testy than normal. And I think somebody even might have mentioned on one of my videos that I had done that I was getting a little bit complainy. But since I feel like that's not my MO, that's not my style. So in that respect, I'm more American than French. And when it comes to technology, when it comes to my computer keyboard, I prefer the American QWERTY keyboard. Here in France, they do the AZERTY thing, I think it is. And that has been a challenge for me. When I first took French class and we were in the language lab, that drove me crazy because I'm typing and the wrong letters are showing up. Now it's much better. I'm expecting that that's going to be the case. And I recently had to buy a new computer with an AZERTY keyboard. I've programmed my new computer so that it has a QWERTY keyboard. And I've gotten labels to put over the keys so that I can type looking, and then occasionally when I need to look down for the comma or whatever, I can see the right letter or symbol. More American than French when it comes to that. And then with Google, I have a VPN now. In the beginning, I didn't. So if I did a search here in France for something, French results would come up. And because my French wasn't as good as it is now, I was frustrated. It was like, I just want to know what I want to know. I want an answer in English. And that was really unnerving to me. Now, I do have a VPN. I don't use it so that I get English results. And when I do get French results, which is all of the time, I read the answer and get what I need. And it doesn't take me 20 times longer because I have a better proficiency in reading French. So in that respect, I'm a little bit more French than American. But overall, technologically, nope, more American than French. So that covers off on the things I feel like I have not adjusted my habits, or my habits haven't changed so much and come around to the ways that French people would do things or experience things. So of those, does anyone surprise you? Let me know in the comments. All right, so moving on to those things that I feel like I am more French than American. The first one has to do with weather and my apartment. Now, I'd heard years ago that the French close their shutters in the summertime during the day when it's hot because it keeps some of the heat out. It keeps the interior of their homes a little cooler. And I thought, oh yeah, that's nice, but I work at home, number one. I like to have light coming into my house, so I can't see myself closing my blinds and feeling like I'm living in a cave. And so I didn't do that. My first years here, I didn't do that. But last year, when we had a heat wave, I said, well, Patricia, why don't you try that thing? They do it for a reason. So we were having a heat wave, and I decided to close the shutters in my living room, in my bedroom, and I noticed a significant difference in the temperature in my house. Now, I do have air conditioning in my living room, so I had the air conditioner on, but the air conditioner seemed to be more effective because it wasn't fighting against the heat from outside because I had closed my shutters. I do have the wooden shutters. I don't have the electrical ones that are metal, but they seem to do the trick. And so I started doing that last year when we were having heat waves. On hot days, but not really, really hot days, I keep my shutters open. So not completely French in that respect. And at nighttime, I don't close my shutters either. And that is something that most French people do. They close their shutters at night and open them in the morning. Summertime, wintertime, fall, spring, whatever. I don't do that. I leave my shutters open at nighttime all year round, except when it's really hot. On that one, I give myself credit, though, for being partially French. Also, I feel like I am more environmentally conscious. I go to the grocery store and we'll get mushrooms, and often the mushrooms are in this plastic container. Sometimes I find these mushrooms in a cardboard container with a little bit of saran wrap over it, which makes me feel better. But most of the time it's in this plastic container. And that really kind of drives me crazy. In the United States, I wouldn't have thought twice about that. I always bring my reusable bags to the grocery store because, well, if you forget them, you've got to buy another one, or you got to walk out of the grocery store with all of your shopping in your arms. So I am much better at bringing my own bag. So much, much more green here in France. So in that respect, I am more French than American. So there's also grocery shopping. I am more French than American when it comes to grocery shopping. I go to the grocery store 2 times a week. I will stop at a market around town or one of the market that's in town, maybe a 3rd time. And that is due to the fact that there are fewer preservatives in the foods here, so food tends to go bad sooner, so I don't want to have a refrigerator full of food that is going to go bad. But secondly, my refrigerator is small. Now, it's bigger than a dorm-sized refrigerator, but it's not a full American-sized refrigerator. And my freezer is really small. So if I'm going to buy some frozen food, I need to know for sure that there is space. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So that has caused me to shop more frequently. And it's not a problem. I don't really enjoy shopping, but I have learned to go to the grocery store around the lunch hour because most French people are eating. So in that respect, I am not as French as the French are, because at noon, it doesn't mean I stop everything and eat. I typically will eat lunch at 1:30. So, but not necessarily on a really strict schedule. So in that respect, and I didn't mention that, I guess that's more American than French. But we're talking about where I am more French than American. At the grocery store, I am a little bit more aggressive. And you might say, aggressive? What do you mean aggressive? Well, when I first moved here, if I wanted some apples and there was somebody standing in front of the apples and they were selecting their own apples, I would wait patiently for them to finish and then move on. But sometimes they took a really long time because either they didn't see me or they didn't care. And then out of nowhere, somebody else would come in and slip in and get their apples, and I'm still standing there. I'm like, oh, there's something different here. So now somebody's in front of the apples, I'll scooch in right next to them, put my arm up, to grab what I need and go. And they don't think it's rude. They don't say anything of it. And I go about my business. The same goes for when there is somebody stocking the shelves in the middle of the day, when there are people shopping. I will just go and get what I need, because here in France, they don't do overnight stocking. So that means that there are often, it seems like always, the place I need something, there is a stocker with a big machine with all the supplies. And the thing that's different here is that in the US, typically the stocking happens at night, but sometimes there are people stocking shelves during the day. And if I'm there and they see me looking where they're stocking, they might move out of the way, or they might even reach up and grab one of the items that I need and hand it to me. But here, no, I just know I scooch in and I get it. More French than American in that respect. All right, what else we got here? Language. I feel so comfortable speaking language. I spoke about, the Google results in French. I use them. My phone is now on the language of French, so that is something. And if I'm talking to somebody who speaks French and English, I default to French, because number one, I want to have opportunities to continue to improve, but number two, I really enjoy speaking French. It is more enjoyable to speak French to me than it is to speak English because of the challenge. More French than American in that respect. And that surprises me, because I never thought that I would be fluent in French. If you're interested in seeing any of my how I learned French videos or me speaking in French, you can check out this playlist, and I'll put a link to it in the description, but also at the top of the screen. All right. So we talked about weather and home habits, environmental awareness, language, grocery shopping. There are two more things here, and they are in the field of medical. So when I go into a pharmacy, or when I go to get my blood drawn, I automatically take out my carte vitale and hand it to them. Now, this is something, because when I first moved to France, I was not aware that I was eligible as a French resident for the carte vitale. It wasn't until about 3 years in, I was dating a French guy, and he said, it doesn't matter if you're not a citizen, you have the right to healthcare. And so I believe in that. So more French than American in that respect. But then in the beginning, when I finally got my carte vitale, I would go into the pharmacy. I'd go to get my blood drawn, and I'd go into the doctor's office, and they'd stand there and wait for a second, and then they'd say, oh, I need your carte vitale. And then I'm like, oh, yeah. Right now, they don't have to prompt me. They don't have to prod me. I come in there, I have my card ready, and we go about our business. The other thing around medical is that I'm not expecting a bill to come. Now, a couple of months ago, I suffered a dog bite, and I had to go to the clinic here. And I didn't have my carte vitale with me. It was my morning walks. I didn't have it. But I thought they were able to find my carte vitale information and bill the state. But just about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I received a bill in the mail. And I was like, what is this? I was not expecting it, and I didn't think that I owed it. But I called the clinic, and they said, oh, no, this is the part that your mutuelle will pay. Mutuelle is the supplemental insurance, or the top-up insurance, as it's called. And so I'm like, oh. So I went in to the clinic, I paid it, and then my mutuelle reimbursed me. So more French than American when it comes to healthcare, medical experience, except in one area. And that is if I'm sitting in a doctor's office, or I'm entering a doctor's office, the waiting room, it's not second nature for me to say, Bonjour. But I'm sitting there, and more people come in, and they're always saying, Bonjour, bonjour. And people are responding. And when they leave, they say, au revoir. And that is not something that I am accustomed to doing in a doctor's office. However, at a boutique or a shop, absolutely. Bonjour and au revoir. Absolutely. So more French when it comes to medical system, healthcare. Yes, absolutely. And finally, I am more French than American when it comes to restaurants. When I was a tourist here in France for the first couple of times, it annoyed me that they wouldn't bring the check to my table. And I'd sit and wait, and then finally had to ask. But that's what you do here. Now, when I go to a restaurant, I enjoy being able to sit there and linger and enjoy my food and enjoy my company without having a bill right next to my plate, without feeling like, oh, they want to turn the table so they can earn a living so they can get more tips. I have definitely learned to relax at a restaurant, and in fact, I don't like it when I go back to the States and they bring my meal and the check at the same time. More French than American when it comes to that. Tipping. I don't feel the urge to tip anymore. In the beginning, it was just like, oh yeah, I need to leave a tip. Now, there is tipping here in France. It's called a pourboire, but it's not mandatory, and it's not 15 or 20%. If the service was good, you can leave €1 or so. That's that. And I don't have a problem with that anymore. It's not like, oh, I feel the urge to do that. More French than American when it comes to that. All right, other dining. Oh, outdoor cafes, cafe culture. I love that. Absolutely love that. And in the United States, I'd get a cold drink. There'd be tons of ice in it. Okay, it wasn't something I liked, something I disliked. It was just the way it was. Here in France, they don't put ice in, or they put 1 or 2 ice cubes. And that's fine with me too. It's not something that I need. More French than American. All right. I think all in all, I feel like I'm pretty evenly balanced, but if I had to choose a side, I think I would say that I am a little bit more American still after 7.5 years than French. And I think that's just because I was 51 when I moved here, and old habits die hard. And I want to share with you that I didn't move to France to feel more French. I moved to France because I just wanted to experience something new. I wanted to learn the French language. And so feeling more French than American, or more American than French, that's an identity. And I don't tie myself to either. I am a person who comes from the United States, was born in the United States, and who now lives in France. And I have habits of somebody who was raised in the US, and I have habits of somebody who lives in France. And I'm a mixture of all of that. And so these identities don't define me. But I think it was a fun exercise to share. What surprised you the most about either how I'm more American or how I'm more French? And what are your thoughts on identifying as either or? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you did not see the live stream I did a couple of days ago where this question was posed to me for the first time and I was not able to answer it, you can check that out here, because I do answer a lot of other questions that you might be curious about. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, subscribe to this channel if you have not already, and make sure to hit that bell so that when I do go live, you will be notified. And that is all I have for you today. Bye for now.